For all who comes to this goofy place, welcome.
Hello there, and welcome back to another episode here at the Goofy Scoop podcast. Of course, I have Gray with me, and tonight I have my dad and my mom. So, this is actually my yeah, a round of applause, everybody. So, this is actually my mom's first time on the podcast. My dad has been on in the past, but mom, welcome to the Goofy Scoop podcast. Glad to have you. And
Thanks.
tell us a little bit about why you like Disney, why you love Disney so much.
Um, Probably since I was 8 years old, we had a neighbor who went to Disney World and we got to watch the slideshow. And so from that moment on, it was my dream to go to Disney World. And I was a Disney fan, grew up watching Disney on TV, Disney cartoons. When we finally went to Disney World, I was definitely bit by the Disney bug, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Hey,
we made sure you guys were grew up on Disney.
hey, Kim, tell them how many times you've been.
No.
I was going to say you've definitely made me addicted, but we all know that. A little too much sometimes. But yeah, okay. So that was a little bit about my mom. So let's go ahead. I think we should get started. Tonight's episode, if you didn't see it in the title for whatever reason, we're going to be talking about our favorite cue lines. So we all picked top 3 favorite cues, and we all had one cue that we picked that we're like, okay, this cue line just outright sucks, in my opinion.
Oh,
So, did that change your notes a little bit?
a little bit.
Oh God. Okay, so anyway, I think the best way to get started, we'll go ahead and start with my mom since she is brand new to the podcast and she is our actual special guest since she hasn't been on before. And we'll go to my dad and then we'll go to Gray and then we'll go to myself. Does that sound good with everybody? Or mom, do you want to kind of get adjusted a little bit more to
No, I'm
being on
good.
the screen? Or are you good?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, sounds good. So, like I said before, we're going to talk about our fave 3 cues and our least favorite cue, but we'll go in order one at a time and we'll work our way down. So, Mom, if you want to go ahead and get started, what is your third favorite cue on Disney property when it comes to Disney World specific?
I would probably say Splash Mountain.
Ooh,
A
may it
ride,
rest in peace.
but it's a ride that
Yes.
doesn't exist.
I know, but I haven't been there since it hasn't existed. So in my mind, it's still there until I go again.
Touche.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
shaking their head. That's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what makes it your favorite though? Like, give us a little bit of reasons why.
Great theming. I love the fact that it's kind of Old South. You could go into that ride being mad, irritable, hot, and the music starts playing and it's cool. And you leave that ride and you are singing Zippity Doo Dah Day and you are in a different frame of mind.
So, Dad,
Preach. Amen. I
So
agree
hold on.
100%.
so hold on, Dad. You're telling me this whole time, every trip we've gone on with Mom, and she gets a little moody. That was the only thing we needed to do.
I'm not closing this park down.
Inside
that
joke.
part.
She got a little grumpy that
Inside.
night. She said she was
Yeah.
not closing that park. Okay, I mean that's a valid reason. I was thinking about putting that on my list to be honest. But the only thing that stopped me was it's not a ride that exists anymore. So I was like, okay, I don't know if Gray and my dad especially are going to allow me to do that because it's not a ride anymore on Disney property.
Well, Jeff, we allow
My
your
mom.
mom, but we
That's
don't
right.
allow you to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things we don't allow you to do on this
You
podcast.
try to cancel me every other episode. So yes, I believe that.
You're good at being canceled. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest.
I mean,
also
another
believe
thing I
that.
like about it, another thing I like about the ride too is I grew up on those books, the
Mhm.
Brer Rabbit books and stuff. So kind of a throwback to my
So out of
past.
everything at Disney World, that is in your top 3 as far as queue lines.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the architecture, just kind of the old South. Um, like when I'm in there, I'm always that one and Thunder Mountain Railroad, looking around at the architecture of it, the because
Mhm.
it's kind of barn style, farm, not farm style, but just old South.
Just Old West style,
West.
South
Yeah, and
Old
I
West
like
style. Yeah.
yeah, and I
I
like
like it.
that. Um, and I like the fact, well, this doesn't really have to do with the queue ride, but like the ride itself has an element of surprise because you never know if you're going to be wet until you get into the log. Because if you have a couple of big boys or bigger people, you're going to get wet.
It was very
But you don't
one-sided. I
know
like how mom
that.
goes big boys. It doesn't say big girls, big boys.
I'll take it. You get wet when I'm on the ride. It's me. It's my fault.
But that's what makes it so fun too. Because it's like as soon as you know who you're going to be riding with, you know
Hmm.
if you're going to be wet or not.
Well, okay, so great. The last time we went on Splash Mountain, which was like our last time before they shut it down back in 2023 January, that was probably the most wet I did get on Splash Mountain. That was
You know,
pretty rough.
It's funny you say that. To me, I didn't get that wet. But I
I
also I did the Splash Mountain at Disneyland. And if you want to hear that story, go back and listen to that Disneyland episode because I got soaked on that one and it was bad.
I do hear that more people do get more soaked at Disneyland Splash Mountain, but obviously we can't go there anymore either. I think the only one left, I think Alex mentioned that she's only at Japan now. I think his Splash is only
I don't
available
know.
at Japan. I don't remember.
That's not the research I did for this episode, so I can't tell you.
Very true. Very true. But yeah, no, that was giggling, Dad. That was a very good top three, number three for Mom. That's a good start. Let's go ahead and move over to Dad and see what yours is.
Number three.
Number three
Right.
out of your top three.
It's Space Mountain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gray's
Yeah.
like,
You
wow.
gotta be kidding me.
I can't see. There's Gray. Why? What's wrong with Space Mountain?
The queue library, it's so basic. It's like, ooh, white walls. Woo. There's
Here,
nothing special about it.
Let me explain there. It's all inside.
That's
You're
always a
covered
plus.
the whole time.
That's always
Absolutely.
a plus.
And they used to have do they still have the entertainment there while you're waiting in line?
Mm-mm. Nope.
No.
They used to have those little games, but once COVID hit, I mean, anything that was like people could touch, they took away, and they just never brought them back.
I still enjoy it because of the fact of if it's raining, if it's hot, if it's cold, you're inside, and there you go.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's not anything fancy, but you know what? It's inside. I'm protected, and yeah.
Yeah.
It's dark.
It's also one of those things too, where I mean, just thinking about it as a queue, I definitely agree with you there. But it also, with Kate, my sister, you guys' daughter, obviously, with her working at Space as well, every time I'm in the queue, I always think of Kate a little bit as well, since she worked there for 2.5 years at Space.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think they get everybody ready from that long queue line in the dark so their eyes, I don't know, so they're used to being in the dark? I think it's a major factor of having a queue line in the dark in a dark ride.
The thing is, to me though, if your eyes adjust to the darkness, then in the dark ride you're gonna see more. And in my head, you want to see less.
Yeah.
But do you?
Yeah, because to me, if I'm on Space Mountain, it's more fun if I see absolute. Like if you close your eyes on Space Mountain, it's way more exciting than if you're looking to see what's going on.
Yeah, but I don't see much on Space Mountain. Do you? I mean, even though you've been in the dark, I guess that's why some of the flashing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I'm in the front, I can see where the track is going. Like there's the lights that are like the stars and stuff. I can see at least kind of where the track is going.
Maybe I just like the ride. I don't know.
Good ride.
That's my number three.
Oh my God. Okay, fair enough. It's a fair choice. Not as good of a reason behind it as Mom had for hers, but we'll move on and let that one slide, and we'll move on to Greg.
Maybe his number one is like way better. We don't know.
Oh,
We'll find
let's
out. Maybe
hope.
his number one is good. We'll see. Okay, my number three is the Seas with Nemo and Friends at Epcot. Because it's really good.
You better explain yourself, sir.
No, okay. The reason I like this one, first of all, this will make Darrin happy. It's inside, so you got that air conditioning. It's different, But when you first get in that line, you're like on the beach, and then you slowly, gradually go underwater. And that makes the story. It's like it's a good storyline. You're on the beach. The only thing that's not good about it is there's like never a wait line. There's never a wait time for it, and it just goes back and forth a
The
billion
best
times.
thing about the queue is it's not a queue.
Yeah,
No.
this makes sense.
They're like, but the queue line itself, the theming of it, it just puts you in the mindset of, oh, I'm at the beach. Oh, now I'm going underwater. It's just a
I
good,
agree with Greg.
perfect thing. Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
you know,
Especially if you think from a little child standpoint.
Right, exactly. And
I
I'm
mean,
a
that's
little child,
perfect.
apparently
so
we are. Apparently we're looking
You
at it from a
always,
little child.
we do.
Hey,
I
there's
mean,
nothing
like,
wrong with being a kid at heart.
yeah.
Thank,
It's like when you
thank
go
you,
to
Gray.
Disney, you
Thank
are
you,
a
Gray. You
child at
just
heart.
made mine look a lot better.
as a,
No,
I don't
no.
think so, but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Mine at least has like a storyline to it. Okay, I
Mm.
appreciate that a little bit, but
Oh, I just hang
that's
on.
my number 3.
You're doing so many adjustments.
Honestly,
No,
can we
I,
trust
I,
his list?
I
We
think
don't
that was
know.
a pretty solid one. I mean, when he first said with Nemo and Friends, I was like, oh, no. Why? But behind his
Well, no,
reasoning, I
because
could get his reasoning. Yeah.
I actually thought about that too today because I thought theming wise, but I don't write it as much as what we used to, very rarely.
Yeah.
See, I
But
write it
the
all the time
theming
because I think it's
wise,
fantastic.
they have it spot on.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's
that's
what I'm
the thing,
saying.
though, is I think that was kind of the hardest part about making this list for me, even though it was only 3, is I started thinking too much about the ride and not about the queue. Disney has some kind of crap rides that have pretty good queues.
Oh, absolutely.
So it started making me look
Absolutely.
at it a little differently.
Name one.
That's why Tomorrowland Speedway is my number 1, baby.
Oh,
Just kidding.
Great, great, good view over Tomorrowland and the teacups. All right. Everybody's had a solid one so far. Dad, kind of lacking, but it's okay. All right, so
oh,
I'll just go.
yeah.
What is it?
Let's hear it, Jeff.
So with my third one, with my third choice, I went ahead and went with Mission Space. But what makes Mission Space so good? Okay, not so when you immediately walk in, if you choose green, you're making the wrong. You're going the wrong way. You got to choose orange. That's just the best way to go. You got to do it. If you're going to go to Mars, do it seriously. So walking through there, it doesn't change the. I don't think it even changes the queue, but whatever.
It doesn't.
Orange.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So you walk in, it shows you what it looks like in astronaut quarters, which is really cool. They have a moon buggy up on the wall. That's cool to look at, especially if you're into space. And then once they separate you and everything, what makes this queue line a good selection for me is they get you pumped up with basically telling you what they have to do. I miss the Gary Sinise version. I really do, but it's still a good version. They
You're
talk
talking
you
about the
through.
pre-show. Sorry, I
Yeah,
just wanna,
pre-show. Yeah.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's part of
yeah.
the queue, right?
Oh,
Technically.
absolutely. Still part of the queue. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So I don't know. It just gets me pumped up. And every time I go on it with my dad or whoever I'm with, it's like, oh, yeah. All right. Let's go to Mars. Even though we know what's going to happen on the ride, but it's like that small, you walk through that door and you walk around and you find your numbers, your colored numbers. Oh, yeah. You feel like a real astronaut.
That's what I'm always the pilot.
I don't even remember what I usually get.
I haven't
Was there-
rode that
there's-
ride in so long, I don't even remember the queue line.
Yeah.
There's
I
the-
don't like that
Yeah.
ride, so I stay away from it.
There's the
Thanks.
pilot, the commander,
Navigator, engineer,
Navigator.
engineer,
Yeah, there's
I
a
think.
fourth one, engineer. Yeah.
As long as you hit the yaw button, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yaw.
I just
Jeff,
remember
for
the
launch.
first time we rode it, I was the navigator, and it made me so nauseous I had to keep my eyes closed. And your dad's over there going, open your eyes, you're the navigator.
Press
And I'm
the
like, I
button.
don't care.
No, I'm
Nope.
I'm
And I
claustrophobic.
never rode it again.
The first time I rode it, I'm claustrophobic. I had to. Thank God that fan was in my face, blowing that air in my face.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what really
That
saves
was
me
tough.
too. Is I'm not claustrophobic, but in small spaces with no air movement, I get sick really quick.
I always do the green one. Sorry, Jeff. I've never done the orange, never will do the orange. I'm staying away from it.
All
Because
right.
I'm not getting sick at a day that I spent $1 billion to go to Disney.
It's all right. We
There's
can't all be
vomit bags.
winners.
There's vomit bags in there.
Yeah.
That's still not a good experience.
Did they put the green and the orange whenever I wrote it, or was it just straight orange? Just
Well,
one.
I don't know.
Oh.
It's been a long time since you wrote it, but I think somebody ended up having cardiac issues, and that's why they went to a little bit lighter because they're like, okay, well, maybe this is a little bit more extreme, especially when this person didn't know that they had issues. So they
Well,
made a green version.
I was gonna say originally, I think there was one more intense than the orange.
I thought it was just one setting, and then they changed it back to green.
I don't know.
And did
I
like
thought there was
half.
like the orange was like the easy, and then they had like one that was like great. Like this is what it feels like to go to Mars. I could be wrong. I don't know.
If they did, I wish I wrote it.
It's a good ride.
The orange isn't good enough sometimes. Like I'm just like, man, I really want some G's. I want to feel like how they feel. But
Heard that.
I mean, professional astronauts even they black out during those testing. So maybe I don't want to do that. I'll stick with orange.
I do agree, Jeff. That's a pretty neat queue line. There's a
Yeah.
lot to look at. There's a lot of moving stuff going.
Well, yeah, especially when you get in those, 4 lines where they're like U4-1,
Yep.
U4-2, U4-3, blah, blah, et cetera, all the way, I think, to 5 or 6. And you're standing in front of astronaut suits and lockers. So it's basically making you look like you're prepping at the actual station. It's just a really good cue. And it's pretty simple.
Well, they have all the pictures. You remember all the pictures on the wall of the astronauts from the different countries?
Mhm.
You remember that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool,
that's
too.
Pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's my number 3. So
Not
that's
bad.
technically the first round.
All right.
think
Round
so.
1, ding ding.
Round 1, ding ding. Back to Momma French.
Okay. So number 2, Toy Story Mania.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that cue line.
Why did I not even think of that ride? I don't know how I
I
didn't.
don't know.
But
Because
that is
you're
a good
fake
cue.
fan, Jeff. You are a fake fan. Period. Canceled.
Well, it is one
Tell
of
us
my
why,
favorite.
Kim.
It is one of my favorite Disney Pixar movies. Again, the theming that they did, just those giant games as you're walking through, and those were a lot of games that me and you grew up on. So that's always fun because, like, sometimes you forget about some of the things that you played with growing up. So it's always kind of a throwback to your past. Music is great in there. You find yourself singing along. It's like a great place if it's hot outside to cool off. The ride itself is interactive. You actually get to compete against each other, and I think that kind of adds an element, but that's not part of the queue.
The
And then
trash
still a
talk
queue.
adds to the queue, though.
Oh my gosh, especially for your dad. I like too, like even when you get off of the ride, it kind of continues as you're walking through that little area that has like the park benches made out of popsicles, and just the theming continues.
Yeah, the exit queue is good. You forgot the best part of that queue line, though, is the interactive Mr. Potato Head.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, true.
Yep.
True. And
That's
don't
so
they give you
fun.
like little hints as far as like how to score high and play the game,
Yeah.
if I remember
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Like
There's
aim
like as you
high.
get closer, there's screens that have like stuff on
Yes,
them and
little
like how to get
hints.
more points and stuff. Yeah. Mhm.
Why did I
Yes.
not know this?
Jeff, this is
I
why
didn't
you
know that.
always lose on Toy Story Mania. Duh.
Yeah, because if you
That's
pay
true, Jeff.
attention to the signs, it'll give you hints of how to score higher on your points.
Yep.
I did not know that.
And
didn't
fun
either.
fact, if you work together with the person in your car, not against them, you'll both get more points.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Kim, you never score very much on this game.
I do pretty good. I'm usually last out of all 4.
It sounds like
Yeah.
I
But I mean,
could
I
beat
still don't
all
do
of you
too-
guys in this game.
I still don't do
Probably.
too bad.
Because
Yeah.
I'm the best at Men in Black over at Universal, but when it comes to Buzz Lightyear, whatever that one is, I can't stand it. And then Toy
don't
Story
like that
Mania,
ride.
yeah, I'm usually like 3rd or 4th. I'm not usually top.
Nah, Toy Story Mania,
Isn't-
#1, baby, every time. Bang, 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 bang.
So
I
the
think
queue
Katie
line,
is number 1 when we ride, right? Between you and
What?
Katie. I think it's
Kate,
usually between you and Katie.
Kate's usually beating me now just because she lived there longer and was able to write it more and understand it more.
so the queue lines changed for this, right? Since they moved they opened the new Toy Story section. Remember the queue line
Yeah,
used to be different.
yeah. I like the new
So
one
it's
better.
better.
The
Yeah,
new
it's
one is
better
better.
I
now.
think
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, because the older one was just kind of out of place.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense now. It really does.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to see a small pattern with Mom so far, even though we only have 3, so it's going to be a small pattern. But I've noticed that there is nostalgia
Mm-hmm.
and what was the other one? I mean, it's definitely nostalgia, but I can't remember what the other one was. It was like halfway through her spiel on why she picked it, so I can't remember. But definitely some patterns here. So
Jeff, is it weird that I already think I know your number one based on your number three? I'm not gonna guess it. We're not gonna. But I'm pretty sure I already know.
I mean, there's probably a good chance. But as of right now, I'm more curious to see if my dad can redeem himself from his third pick.
Oh, I have the best list. You
Why do you
guys.
why do you like it? It
Okay.
protects me.
It does.
But
Safety.
yes,
You know
when
what?
it's hot outside,
Yeah. I'll remember that the next time we're there and you're complaining about how hot it is or you're wet. I'm going to go, you know what? Let's go to this over this line.
Well, maybe when I was 7 years old, but I don't have those leather strap Docker sandals anymore that made my feet 7 pounds each. So it's a little different now.
You still act the same. You guys ready for my second one?
We're ready. We're ready. Hit it.
As ready as I can be.
You ready? Peter Pan.
Oh no.
Yes.
good
Right?
one. Yeah,
Yes.
good one.
Now, the old queue line before they improved it, how many years ago they did. But
It's
now
like
they
5
take
now.
now they take you kind of slowly in, like through the hallway to the house, around into the bedroom. Best thing ever. You
It
know, you
makes
got Tinkerbell flying around the room.
that's
Yeah.
dangerous saying best thing ever. But
Huh?
it's
Well, if it was the
dangerous saying
best thing
best
ever,
thing
it
ever.
would be his number one, but this was his number two.
Yeah.
But he forgot the best part of that cue line.
Which is
The bells
What?
that you could just ding, 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 ding
Oh,
with
yeah,
your
that's
shadow.
right.
That's the best
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, that is pretty
Yeah.
cool how it's interactive that way. Now, I
Yeah.
remember walking through that queue line for the first time and seeing the bedrooms and stuff, and that's what really sells me on why I love Disney so much, other than the food and other than the actual rides itself, is when they put that much effort into a queue. You go to Six Flags and you're sweating your butt off on a Mr. Freeze queue. It makes no sense while I'm sweating. Huh?
So Jeff, say that again. What?
With what?
Sweating, standing outside, sweating.
Yeah, but this isn't at a Disney park though. So what I'm saying is it makes because it's not outside, but you're sweating inside in a Mr. Freeze queue when it comes to Six Flags. It makes no sense why you're sweating inside of an ice cream factory, right?
Not in
So
Space Mountain.
it is nice that most of these Disney queues you don't have to sweat. And they add decor and certain theming like the kids' bedroom. It just makes so much sense. The only thing I don't like,
you stand in line.
the only thing that I don't like is you double see the kid's bedroom. You see it in the queue and then you see it in the ride. I don't know how I feel about that.
What?
Because you double see it.
Theoretically, you could say it's two different kids' bedrooms.
Yep.
It's not, but like you could say that.
True.
You could like.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. There you go.
So, I don't know, but and it's cool how Tinkerbell flies around and like through the drawer and through the treasure chest.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Did I redeem myself?
Slightly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It only gets better.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I'd hope so.
Well, let's hear yours, Jeff.
No, I'm not next. It's Gray. You gotta wait for mine.
Okay. All right. Well, Jeff, you can go pretty quickly because I just came up with this one off the top of my head because I had 2 number 2s and your parents took both of them.
Oh, wow.
Because my number 2s were Toy Story Mania and Peter Pan. So yeah. So this one I just came to the top of my head after going through my list. I'm gonna say Test Track. But specifically Test Track when you make your own car. Because if you don't make your own car, you've wasted your time, in my opinion.
It takes all the fun out of the ride nowadays.
Making your car?
No, like if you can't make your car, the ride just blows.
Yeah, that's true. That's
because I'm pretty sure it just auto generates a car, and you're like, okay, whatever, I don't even care.
Yeah, no.
But when you make your own car,
it's more fun when you make like the worst possible car there, like it's super skinny or like super wide and has 3 giant wheels and 1 really small one. Like that's the best part.
And you smoke
But
everybody.
yeah, exactly. No, but I think it's really cool because you go in and you get to see like different cars and like it looks really futuristic. And then even the exit queue, you get to walk through the whole like Chevy thing, which just makes it more like car. And I really like
Mhm.
that. Also, don't judge me. That came off the top of my head because your parents took both of my number twos.
Yeah.
So
No,
Do
it
y'all
Okay.
was
remember?
it's a
Do you
pretty
remember
good
the
one.
queue line when it was the crash dummies?
I only wrote it once, so I don't
Barely,
remember.
barely.
I
Yeah,
liked it
yeah,
then. I always thought it was so
yeah.
fun, like walking and seeing all the crash dummy stuff.
I
Mm,
agree.
I barely remember that. I might have to
yeah,
YouTube that a little bit
Yeah.
later. Because
I
now
don't
that you
remember
say
it.
that, I remember watching a screen of the test dummies.
Yep.
But
I
that
feel
was
like I
Gray,
so
what
did.
long
was
ago.
Yeah, a little bit.
hey Gray, what was your number three?
What did I say? Hold on. Oh, Nemo. The Seas with Nemo and
Nemo.
Friends. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a good
so
one.
I'm just taking notes on something else here.
Okay. He's a little
Okay.
doing a little side quest over here.
We'll
No,
find
I'm
out what
just
it is at the end.
yeah, I'm just kind of wondering. Okay, yeah, it
Yeah.
made me think some other things.
Yeah.
All right,
All
Jeff,
right.
what's your number two?
So number two, hopefully it counts. If not, I had to do a backup. But Rise of the Resistance is number two for me. But it's kind of hard to tell because what is the queue and what is the actual ride? Because do they count where you're in the spaceship as the waiting queue? Do they count like where does the queue stop and where does it start? Like, you know what I mean?
I understand your
Yeah.
point, and I think it's a cool point because like it's a cool thing not to know where your wait starts and stops. Like that's cool that it's
Yeah.
part of the experience. Um, but because there is no fine line, I feel like it's hard to call it a queue line at all.
Yeah. That's okay. Because I know that you like, you walk through it kind of like a tunnel, like a dugout tunnel. You see where the resistance, is like planning all their plans. You run into Ray, you run into BB-8. So it's like, is that part of the queue line? Like, are they just making it more of like an experience where you're in the queue, but you feel like you're not waiting?
Before
I
you
think
get
that's what
to
it is.
Yeah, but before you get to any of like the pre-show stuff, like when there's a 4 hour wait and you're just like out there, what is that part of the queue line? Is it just like nothing?
That's just outside by Grand Avenue.
Well, then to me that sounds awful. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like judge things too early, but to
Yeah.
me that's the same thing as like Flight of Passage. Like Flight of Passage, the actual queue line where you're waiting, in my opinion, is kind of blah. But then like the
Yeah.
pre-show is cool, but like the actual queue line you're just walking through is like, ooh, dirt, like, ooh, pretty lights.
Yeah.
Like it's not really anything exciting.
See, that's kind of a hard
Didn't
one. So,
didn't
hmm?
they have it to where I can't think of the term of it, but like where you pre-register to where like you have an assigned time to show
Oh,
up?
They
the
had a
virtual queue.
virtual queue for a while.
Virtual
Yeah.
queue.
Yeah,
So do they not do that anymore?
No.
I don't think so.
They only do that with
See,
like
I only wrote
brand
it.
new rides.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So
the
right
last
I
now,
time you
only
like
wrote
wrote,
it with the virtual.
yeah,
Tron has virtual queue right now, and does Guardians of the Galaxy still have virtual queue? I'm
I
not sure if they do or
think
not.
so.
I think they do, but I think those are the only two rides on Walt Disney World property that still have virtual queue.
Yeah, because I guess the last time you wrote it, Mom, was what, November of 2020? I mean, we were still
Yeah,
wearing masks and everything.
it was still a virtual, I mean, it was a virtual queue. So we just
Yeah.
showed up and then started.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I don't remember much of it.
I guess comment down below and let me know what you think if it counts as a queue or not. But just in case, I'll go ahead and say the one that I had for backup, and we'll just say that it's 50-50. Why are you
Okay.
shaking your head no?
What did we have backup?
Just in case. Obviously, it's
Okay.
fault. Obviously, this isn't a perfect system because you and Mom blasted through Gray's, and then Gray had to pick one off the top of his head. So I just wanted to
It's
make sure.
fine. It happens.
No,
Yeah.
I like I think it is a queue line. I think it's like a way that they entertain you while you're waiting or while you're going through the ride.
But okay, so quick question though. Where does the ride start? Does it start when you're in that first spaceship and you're getting caught by the
Yeah.
Empire?
See, that's the
Yeah.
thing with Rise of the Resistance is like you like the whole ride is an experience. It's not just the like you get
Yes.
in the little thing and ride. Like the whole thing counts as the ride or the
Yeah.
attraction. So it's hard to tell kind of like in between.
Because my whole thing
Yes.
is, does the ride begin? That is the biggest debate, I think, when it comes to that ride. Does the ride begin when you get in that spaceship and get caught by the Empire, or does it begin when you actually have something secure you, like a seatbelt or a harness? And that's when the ride begins.
No, I think the attraction begins when like the main pre-show starts. Like when you are talking to when Ray and BB-8 like rolls out, isn't that the beginning?
Mm-hmm. That's like
I think
yeah.
I think that's where it starts.
Okay. So it's a very small cue then, if that's where you think it smart starts, and I don't think that that's a very good cue line at all. So that's what's so hard about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. A little bit of debate there. I mean, Dad, what do you think? You're just sitting there shaking your head. So let's see what you think in a little bit.
I actually can't comment on that because I don't remember that much of it. I think I've been on it once. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And just like your mom said, we did the virtual queue line. So we just kind of walked right in and passed everything. And I didn't get to hang out in the queue line and look around and look at the detail.
Yeah.
Or I
That makes
guess it
sense.
wasn't a 4-hour wait, so we didn't have to wait outside.
Mm-hmm.
Or
You know,
what
the
I mean?
queue lines, I think that the interesting thing about queue lines is you should be able to spend, I think it's important to spend time in lines with the people that you went to so you can look around and talk and see the details of what they put in these queue lines. I think it's, yeah, if you don't look and stop and look at the queue lines, I think you're missing part of the ride.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I think that's where we're gonna get to now is before we say what our number one rides are, just talking about like the queue lines that aren't that great or the queue lines that
Yeah.
like aren't really existent.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't really exist with the ride itself.
I think it's interesting. Yeah. When you look back at Peter Pan again, the old queue line was horrible, but with that improvement, I think there's other rides that they can do the same thing to.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and there's, like now going back to Toy Story Mania, I'm gonna have to just look around because I usually just get to
Yeah.
talking, or I'm usually just really appreciating that AC break. I'm not looking
Right.
around on how to score more points. So that was like news to me today. I'm kind of bummed that you guys never told me about that, but it makes sense in a competitive state.
Well, see, Jeff,
Yeah.
that's the thing. When we're in line with you, you're just like talking and we zone out. So we're looking around at everything, noticing all the cool details, not really paying attention to what you're saying.
You've got to
That's
look
fair.
around at Toy Story Mania because there's so much going on in that room with all
Yeah.
the monkeys and the old all this 80s
Cards,
stuff.
Mhm.
Oh my
Legos,
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think what it's
Yep.
called. The little
What is that called?
The Etsy sketch.
that's
Yep.
it's a sketch.
Etch and
Yes.
sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that one too.
Crayons, the big
Yep.
crayons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That
yeah,
was a good one.
I think Gray had a good point. I think before we obviously talk about our number one, let's all talk about, honorable mentions and our least favorite. So I guess we'll start with you, Mom. We'll just go right back to you.
I honestly did not prepare a least favorite.
How did you not?
I thought we were just doing our top 3 favorite.
I have multiple least favorites, so that's okay.
I do too.
Okay, so I mean, I guess just basically, I did tell you that we were gonna do a least favorite, but I mean, if you
Fine.
No, you didn't.
gaslighting me right now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, skip me and go to Dad. I'll have to
Wow.
think. I'll have to think.
What do you want to know? Least favorite?
Your least
Yeah, so
favorite.
what's your like least favorite cue?
Tiki Room.
I could
I
see
think
that.
the ride. The ride's a waste of time.
It has nothing
The
to do with
queue
the
line's a
ride
waste
though.
of time. It
From
has
a
no.
man. No, pause. From a
You're
man who
staying
says
outside.
it's so important to get an AC break. This is a terrible attraction. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of the attraction. It's just like
Oh
Hall of
my
Presidents.
gosh.
You go in and it's a singing AC break.
Hey, shout
I
out to
know.
I would
AJ
bet.
because he's the only guy that I know that can stay awake during that dang show, the Hall of
I never
Presidents.
fell asleep during the Hall of Presidents.
Oh, dude, that's nap time for me, baby.
I love the Hall of Presidents.
See,
You know,
see, Jeff, your mom and I, we could kill the parks together. We would have so much fun.
here's another bad queue line, and I just lost the name of it. What's that old one over in The old one that goes around.
The Carousel
Dumbo?
Progress. This was on
Yes.
my list. Yes, the Carousel Progress, because the queue line's non-existent. There's just not one there.
That's because there's no wait.
Yeah, ever. If there's a billion people there, there's no wait.
But it's a great ride, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't say great. It's classic. So
It's
not
slowly
great.
it's slowly coming to its end.
I disagree. I think they
Unfortunately.
update it. Keep it going. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow.
I agree.
Shining at
Keep
the
it
end of
going.
every day.
And if you know
Keep
the
the tiki
history
room.
of that,
Yeah.
if you know the history of that ride, that it was at the fair in what,
1964?
Nine?
And
I
if
don't
you
know.
look at the technology behind that ride from then, I think that's just amazing.
Oh, they definitely
imagine.
updated it though. They've definitely done some work to it.
They have updated it, but I mean, everything's been updated. I mean, the Tiki Room's been updated. Dumbo has been updated. Like all these opening day attractions have been updated.
Oh yeah.
That's a good yeah.
You know,
here's
I
another
remember I
bad
used
queue
to-
We
line.
would hope.
Here's another bad queue line is the People Mover.
I agree. That's also on my list. As much as I love the People Mover, the queue line is nothing. And and to go with the People Mover, the exact same queue line right next door, Astro Orbiter. And that one's even worse because the dumb elevator.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so long since I've rode that one.
Yeah.
I don't think we've rode it in 20 years.
I only rode it once to say I rode it, and I'll never ride it again because it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
That's like the Tiki Room.
I'll hang out at the launching pad before I go back to Astro.
Pad.
Yeah.
And honestly, while we're in Tomorrowland, let's just throw it out there. Tomorrowland Speedway.
Oh.
Is that a least favorite or an honorable mention?
No, it's not a good queue. There's nothing there.
It sucks.
There's nothing there.
I don't even remember what the queue line is.
And then you're halfway getting high off the gas fumes. So then everybody starts getting a little chuckly by the time you get your car.
Yeah.
I like the snow gas.
You know what? Another bad one is teacups.
Yep.
The teacups are bad.
But what are you going to do with that queue though? You know, where are you going to put it?
That's where you people watch when you're in line.
Put it inside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
you
so
just want everything inside.
Here, I'm ready to cause a little bit of debate though, because this is what I have on my list for my least favorite queue. And the reason behind it is because they need to make it better. They can do so much more with it. You ready?
Yes.
Jungle Cruise. They have so much more potential, especially now that movie came out and it was a success. They need to change that queue and make it more interactive. You know, the only cool thing about it is they have that radio station that plays, and he's got, some cool sayings, and they got some nice music going on and some funny sayings. But other than that, they could just spruce it up and fluff it up a little bit and just make it something totally new.
So what would you do?
I would have to, quick thought. I mean, you would have to almost tie in the movie a little bit. And, it would almost be cool to have an animatronic of a skipper somewhere, basically an animatronic of a skipper somewhere in the queue line where you're looking at it, especially with the technology that they have now. Maybe that you could tie it in with the movie and you could have the Jaguar next to the skipper, just kind of.
I like where you're going with the movie, but I don't like tying everything to the movie. Then you're tied to that specific movie.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I'm not saying make the animatronic Dwayne Johnson or like The Rock, but just make it a skipper. Or next thing you know, have the radio station, you have the radio station up above you. I forget what it's called. But, next thing you know, you turn the corner and you have somebody in the radio station. And they're matching the words. That would be cool.
Yeah.
As a man who works in radio, let's make the radio station live. Hire me, and I'll just be live on the Jungle Cruise radio all day long.
And then you could kind of mess with people in line.
Absolutely.
For $13 an hour.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I would
That's a great idea.
do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of like Crush, how you can see people and you kind of interact with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people really hear the radio station though on that ride.
Well, see,
honestly, probably not very many.
I barely heard it. The way that I found it was back in college when I would do papers and stuff. I would always use Disney, sound loops as backgrounds, and I found the Jungle Cruise one, and I fell in love with that. because I kept it on a really low volume, just enough to hear it, but not loud enough to distract me. And that's how I fell in love with it. So I don't even think you can quite hear it enough. I think they need to probably turn it up just a little bit more. But
Yeah.
I mean, that was my least favorite cue, just due to it not being a bad cue, but they just have potential to do so much more with it with the fan base behind that ride.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
before we
true.
move on from that one, think of Pirates of the Caribbean, how they incorporated
Jack's,
Yeah.
yeah,
what-
Jack
Jack
Sparrow.
Sparrow, and that made it
Yeah.
even more of a hit.
Even though that's
And
in
he
the
did.
ride. I don't know. Do you
I
think?
do.
Oh, good
I do
point.
Jack
think
Sparrow wasn't in the ride though, in the beginning.
Well, yeah,
no,
but
but
what okay, go ahead,
I
Greg.
do think the Pirates movies were bigger than the Jungle Cruise movie. Like the Jungle Cruise
I
movie was
totally
good,
agree.
and
Mhm.
I liked it. And the Jungle Cruise movie, like it was obviously like we're gonna make this movie based on a ride
Yeah.
at Disney World. But unless you were like a Disney World person, you wouldn't necessarily know that the Pirates movies were based on the ride originally, and then Pirates became like a whole thing. Like it's a
Good
whole
point.
thing
Well,
in
it did
itself.
just a
And
full
almost the
circle.
well, that's the thing. So almost now the movies are bigger than the ride. So then you base the ride off of the movies.
Off the
But
movie.
Jungle Cruise, the ride is still bigger than the movie. So you don't base the ride on the movie because it's not like the ride is still holds higher, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Speaking with the whole full circle thing, maybe they can update Jungle Cruise in the future, and have the bad guys in there, and the animatronics and the technology that we have are crazy.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
they could do something. But that was
I don't know.
that was my least favorite cue. Just, I mean, I'll mention again, just because there is potential there. They could do some changes.
I'm just gonna like move on from this and rapid fire really quick a bunch of ride cues that are the exact same.
Okay.
Okay.
So Triceratops spin, Astro Orbiter, the flying carpets, with Aladdin, all the same. Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, no really a cue there, not interesting to me. Soren, nothing. That I love the
There's
ride.
potential there though.
There is
Mhm.
potential there, but like nothing is happening.
No, I know. You're just walking. At least you're inside the building.
That's true. That's true. The
Protection
Cali
and
River
safety.
Rapids.
Yep.
Cali River Rapids does nothing for me. There's like nothing there. The safari, the Kilimanjaro safari. It's cool because it has some signs and you can learn some stuff, but again, doesn't really do anything for me.
Hmm.
So like all of these ride cues to me are just like you are standing in line and you will be standing in line. That's all it is. It's like you
Yeah.
are obviously in line.
It is a lazy queue line for Disney.
Yeah.
But
think
do
all
you
of those
think,
are.
I mean, how hard would it be? I mean, we can't be entertained all the time.
True.
You know what I mean? That's a
True.
Why
never
not?
ending, that's a never ending search
Yeah,
or
it's true.
quest,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, but
I
even
mean,
like
like,
even Dumbo, like that ride queue, I get that there's like the circus tent and all that, but to me, the only part that's like really circus is like the kids' play area, and everything else is just like a room with red walls, and you're just standing there.
Yeah.
well, I know for us as a family, some of our favorite times is in those queue lines where we've waited
Yep.
for hours or an hour
Yep.
or two or whatever, and there's nothing else to do. We talk and goof off and have fun. Those are some of our favorite, or at least for me, that's some of my favorite times.
Oh yeah, for
Yep.
sure. But I mean, there's also times too. I was like, Gray and I have been blessed enough to say that we've lived there for 6 months to a year at a time. There's sometimes you go to the parks by yourself. Those queue lines get rough when you're by yourself.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, but I mean, as a whole, I feel like rarely do people go by themselves. Like
mhm.
on average, people aren't going by themselves. But like when I went by myself, I had fun, but that's because I did things that didn't have a weight to them or that
Mhm.
no one else wanted to do, and I wanted to do them. Like that were the times that I would go and do those things, and it would be interesting to me, but not necessarily someone else.
For sure. That makes sense. I also want to throw this out here too. I think that there is, off the top of my head, there is one ride. So there is one queue that is better than the ride at Disney World.
Oh,
Is this your number one?
No,
Like
this
up
is
in the
not my
list?
this is not my number one.
how can
Oh.
it
So we're kind
not
of
be
doing
your
like an
number one?
honorable mention, like halfway point before we release our number
Okay.
ones.
Okay.
It's Frozen Ever After. That queue line is so much better than the ride.
I love that ride.
What's the queue line?
You like walk through the
Yeah.
little town in Norway.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember
And then
that.
you
That's not a
you
queue line.
yeah, it is.
It is a queue
You're
line.
in line.
No, it is not. It's a
What is
line
it then?
formed out there because if the line's not long enough to get out there, it's not.
No, I'm talking about
No,
inside. You're inside,
There's
you're
like a
like,
little village.
yeah.
There is a little village there. Yeah,
The
inside.
theming
See,
in
I
that
don't
is
remember
awesome.
that.
And then you walk
Yeah.
by the guy in the sauna. Yoo-hoo. That's
Yeah,
great to
and he
me.
like
I
wipes
love
the
that.
window. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's the place where we get the school bread.
Okay, the pavilion,
In
yes, but
Norway?
not the
Yes.
ride, not the queue. If they're passing out schoolboy bread in the queue, I'm riding that every dang time.
We know.
But no, like
That's
that the theming in there is great. Ratatouille has like a similar theming, but I mean,
Three Caballeros,
Oh, I forgot
another
about.
awful queue line.
another
Forgot
awful
about
queue line.
Ratatouille.
But-
Ratatouille.
Most queue lines are awful.
I mean, how it's difficult to make waiting exciting, to be completely
Exactly.
honest. Like, to be completely
Yes.
honest, we are complaining about something that you can't really fix. So,
Yeah.
Especially in today's society,
yes.
when we have like
And,
a 2-second attention span.
well, I was going to say,
Mhm.
honestly, today's society, everyone's staring at their phones anyway. Like,
Yes. True.
there's no point in working
Yeah.
hard on a queue line if everyone's just going to be on their phones the whole time. Like, there's just no really anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point there.
They shouldn't allow phones.
Good luck with that. Everything's moving to the phone. You got to do this on the app. You got to mobile order on the app. You got to check wait times on the app.
Which I do kind of like that though, especially when you could get your fast passes on the phone.
Okay.
Whenever
Oh,
you,
like the Genie Plus and stuff.
Not the Genie Plus Fast Pass.
Oh, that's old times.
Yeah,
I
retweet.
know.
Bring back Fast
No.
Pass.
Yes.
Yep. I'll retweet that every time. The only
All right,
thing I
Jeff.
do like through the app, though, is the mobile orders. But that's another topic for another day. I mean, that's really the only thing I use it for.
Let's get to
However,
number one here.
hey, we're getting there. We're getting
Come
there.
on.
You still have yet to redeem yourself, so calm down.
Hey, he did pretty good with Peter Pan.
Yeah.
I did very good.
Your Pan's a
Okay.
good one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it to you. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into our number ones after that small little honorable mention / hot take of some queue lines, I guess what we could say. So Mom, let's go ahead and see what Mama French has in store for us with her number one out of her top 3 favorite queue lines at Disney World property.
Okay, can I get a drum roll, please? Okay, so Flight of
Oh, my.
Passage.
Okay.
Yes.
I literally said how awful it is, and she's like,
I
"Oh, it's so
know.
great."
Well, see, I knew somebody was gonna pick it though. Like when you said that, I was like, somebody's got it on their list though. You know, like there's no way.
Let me tell you why. So I feel like Flight of Passage, I feel like they did such a great job in that land, that area, of totally submersing you into feeling like you're in
Pandora.
a different area. Pandora. Yeah.
True.
I like the fact because lots of times it's got a really long wait line. So half of it's outside, half of it's inside, but it's still really pretty and detailed outside. Um, you can bond with your family, talk, whatever on the outside. Inside, just as detailed. The lab that you get to walk through makes you really feel like you're actually there at a lab, a working lab. Hank the Tank, is that what he's called? Hank in the Tank.
Yeah.
Hank in the Tank, yeah.
Yeah.
Hank in the
Hank
Tank.
in the Tank.
I remember the blue guy in the tank in the water.
The
The
Avatar.
Avatar.
I remember the very first time seeing that thinking, that's
Yeah.
incredible. That's amazing. So I'm trying to think of like when the first time I went through it,
I
like
think-
how I felt.
I think I can definitely agree with you in the fact of like the lab is really good and everything outside is great. But I think the 3 rooms between outside and the lab are just nothing. Personally, it's just like
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, okay, so maybe I
It's
just
fair
forgot
though.
because I remember like once you go through all that and then they separate you into what rooms you're going to,
Mhm.
then they like do the scanning of your body to connect you with your avatar.
But is
which I
that where
think
the
is-
ride starts though?
Yes.
Because we've had a
No.
similar discussion with Rise.
Now, see, to me, that's
I
pre-show.
don't think so.
Dang.
I think that's still Q.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think that's a cool way to, what a great way to kind of like connect you or get you into and ready for that ride. And then they, once you get your avatar, they match you with your avatar, then they're gonna like, you have to, I can't remember how they connect you to the Banshee or whatever before you ride it. Is that like when you actually sit on it?
That's no, they take that's the air thing. They like figure out who you are, and then you stand on your spot and you put the glasses on. Then you get on the bike and fly.
That's when they,
And
yeah, because then they connect you
fly.
to your
I saw
Banshee.
that, Gray.
That's
So,
right.
let me see my notes.
Mom, you know that there's actually not like a Hank in the tank. That's all just like a projection screen, right?
No.
Why would you
No,
tell us?
I'm just
Why would you
kidding.
tell us that?
you
I'm
are
just
such a liar.
I'm
There is
just kidding.
I'm
definitely
gonna
something
say,
in the
wow,
tank.
that's even more
No,
impressive.
I'm
that
just
really
kidding.
that would be actually very impressive if it was just a projection. But no,
I'm just
there's
kidding.
something in it. Don't say that.
I think nighttime too, when you're in that land, I think is really cool too, with all the glow
Yeah.
and dark stuff and the sounds. The
They
sounds I think I even
repainted it.
did they?
Mhm.
But I think the sounds at nighttime, I think I even pay attention to more because you really can't see like the detail kind of stuff. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think that's it on mine. As far as why, the reasons why. And plus, that is probably one of the best rides at Disney World. I
It
remember
is a
getting off that ride for the first time, being totally blown
Yeah.
away,
Mhm.
thinking that's incredible. They did a great job on that one.
The only thing going on with that ride right now, which they might have right before in between this last episode and the one previous, because it's been like a month, but they need to recalibrate the screen again. Because I don't know about you, Gray, but back in 2023 on our reunion trip with everybody from the DCP, the screen was just a little bit blurry and didn't look as good as it did back in 2018 and
I
Were you
2019.
mean,
on the side? Were you on the sides?
we had a whole row to ourselves,
Yeah. But
I
even
feel
then,
and
like
there
on
were
if
a
the
you sat
lot
in
of
sides,
the
though,
us.
it's still not
middle,
that blurry. Like it used to be
oh,
pretty clear. They just need to recalibrate.
I don't know. I definitely
oh.
understand what you're saying, but I enjoyed that ride so much. The screen could be completely blank, and I would be fine. I would have
Well,
so
too. I
much
mean,
fun.
yeah. Oh, that ride is
I
amazing.
love it.
Oh,
It's so
yeah.
good.
Me too.
There's nothing better than taking somebody on it that's never been before. And then
I
Mhm.
I just
agree.
watch them the whole time. And I'm
Yeah,
looking
true.
over.
Same. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is a really good pick. I figured it was going to get chosen with four of us on here with only having three to choose from. But no, yeah. Flight of Passage definitely deserves to be top on somebody's list. So let's
I'm
go
glad I
over
got to be
to
first.
Mr. Note taking Darrin over here and see what Dad has for his top one.
Here's the thing. Your mom took my number one.
Oh, sorry, babe.
You know? Yeah.
I feel so bad. I was like, this queue line is awful. It's terrible. And 50% of us chose it as our number
So I'm gonna go with Spaceship Earth.
one. Ooh.
Just kidding. Just
I
kidding.
was like, so
I
you
know. I
can
was gonna
see
say,
what?
ooh,
Here's the thing, and I've got to explain this, okay? It's the Tower of Terror.
Okay.
So I know
Not
some of it's
surprising it's up
outside.
there.
I know some of it's outside, but it's you slowly get through this queue line. You start outside, you're walking up to this building, right, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you walk into the lobby of the hotel, it to me it's amazing. Tons of things to look at. The details incredible. The costumes or the stuff that the employees are wearing, everything is right on. And then you go down into the
Well,
furnace room.
I mean, you go through the library, then the boiler
boiler.
room. Yeah.
Yeah, the boiler room. I think once you get in there, I think it's one of the best queue lines to look at things and the details of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
you know what helps when you're outside is whenever you hear the screams of the elevator
that's
dropping.
true. Yeah,
That kind of helps you kind of get the,
Well,
you know,
past
yeah.
episode, Gray and I have noticed that is recorded screams.
oh, don't ruin it,
Yeah, why? Why would you
Uh,
do that?
Sorry, but
man.
If you watched your son's episodes, you would know that these were recorded screams.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
So are you gonna tell me the birds in the tiki room are not real?
Those are recorded also. No, don't tell me that.
So I think I have the best number one.
Oh yeah,
It's a good number one.
It's a solid
It's a
number
good-
one. I mean, Gray
Yeah.
hates
It's a good
Tower
number
of
one.
Terror, but
I despise it with all of my passion. Yes.
Why?
You gotta like the little Twilight Tower or Twilight show pre-show when
Well,
he
see,
comes
So
on the TV.
I think the pre-show is good. I think honestly, I agree. I think the queue line is great. The actual ride, I would just rather burn to the ground.
yeah.
I just don't like
I
it.
like the ride too.
Well, see, here's
I like
here's
the
the
ride.
thing with Tower, right? You ride it in the middle of the day. This is the only problem that I have with queue line and riding it, right? They in the queue line in the library, then their little spiel on the video. You know, they say, "Oh, like a night like tonight, very similar, 1939." All this stuff, right?
Very
Well,
good.
if you ride it
Yeah.
at 2 p.m., it's not a similar night like tonight, 1939. You know what I'm saying? So that's the one thing that kind of throws me off is it's not nighttime. It's not raining. Obviously, they're not going to operate it probably when it's thundering and lightning super hard like it is in the video. But when you ride Tower of Terror at night, it's great. When you
At
ride it
night.
at yeah, when you ride it at night, it's great. When you ride at night, when you ride, dang it, when you ride Tower of Terror at night with a light rain or like a decent rain, and there's like no queue, especially if you ride it during Phantasmic, if you want to take that L. I love Phantasmic to death. It's hard for me to skip nowadays. But if you basically are able just to walk into that queue and you watch the library video, which I also love that the lightning syncs up with the window flashes and the flashes on the screen. It's great. There's nothing better than riding that ride when it's actually dark and it's raining. And that's like the perfect matchup ever. Best time to ride Tower ever. That makes the
Okay, so
queue
let me
and
add-
the ride better.
So let me ask you this. You guys are experts at this. You guys have been on all the rides many times, right? Tower is probably the only ride that changes up, right?
Oh, there's
There's
like
a different pattern.
yeah, there's like a million different patterns. Every time you ride, it's going to be a little bit
Yeah.
different. It's
No
never the
other
same ride.
ride. No
I mean,
other
you could
ride is
argue
like
that. You could argue that
Yeah.
with like the actual track, like ride feeling itself kind of does change. But you could argue that with like Toy Story Mania, Buzz Lightyear, and like things like that that are more interactive. You could argue that it's a different ride experience every time.
That's fair.
No.
But that's a little bit more of a controlled situation too, though, I feel.
Yeah, true.
Rather than Terror,
Yeah.
Tower of Terror, you're just kind of holding on.
True.
The
Darren,
souvenirs are good.
I'm really surprised there's a ride, and I'm gonna wait till everybody finishes, but there's a ride that I'm really surprised you didn't pick.
Really?
Yeah, for the queue.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll see what everybody else says for the first. I want to make sure they don't pick it. But
Yeah, for
I
sure.
thought this would be in your top.
No, Tower of Terror is a really solid choice. So, I mean,
A good one.
yeah, Flight of Passage and Tower of Terror, a little bit of, bop and tot. I'm down.
All right.
However,
Well, truthfully,
Gray.
the best queue line in all of Disney World. I mean, come on. It's the best one. I have not ridden Tron, so I don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
I don't know that queue line. I've seen images and videos and stuff on social media, but it's not the same. So I have no idea about that ride. But I'm gonna have to go with the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
I'm trying to remember it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say
walk in, and it's like this giant room, and they've got this like floating orb thing in the middle. You go around there, and then there's like a big room, and the screen comes on, and they're like talking to you, but everyone's still waiting in this room. And then, like we talked about earlier, like this is still part of the pre-show because the actual ride is the roller coaster. This is not like one of those like the whole experience is the whole thing, just like Rise of Resistance is. The ride is the roller coaster itself. So I include the pre-show in this queue line. And the next room you go in, it's like you're on a spaceship basically. And then Terry Crews comes on and talks to all
I
the
love this part of it.
audience and all that. So I think that's really cool. And then as you're about to get on the roller coaster, to me, it's like you're in a giant spaceship that has an escape pod, personally. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, but like the roller
That's how it
coaster
is supposed
itself
to be.
is like an escape pod, and you're getting off to go on a little mission like side thing. I think it's very cool. The colors are great. The way everything is themed, I think is it puts you into the show personally. Like the show is definitely there.
Yeah, that actually is a really good pick. And since we only rode it twice and that trip happened so fast, I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. I'm not the biggest Guardians of the Galaxy fan, but that is a really amazing pre-show. Not necessarily the queue, the beginning where you're kind of walking in and getting into it, but that pre-show, which is, if you want to call it a part of the queue, that's hard to beat because the first time I was in that pre-show, I was like, what just happened?
Well, and see, it could have also been, I've only ridden that ride twice in all the times I've been. And
Mhm.
so the like first couple times I rode it, might have been like really excited. So as I'm going through the queue line, I'm like looking around like, oh, this is brand new. It's so cool. I've never seen this before. And so maybe I wasn't focused on like this is just a room with blue walls. Kind of like I was for Space Mountain because I've ridden that one so many times.
Mhm.
But to me, like walking in, it puts you in the show of you are on a different planet, you are in a spaceship, etc.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't remember it.
you haven't rode it yet. It's brand new to Epcot.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're gonna love it though. It's so
It's
good.
it's so fun. It's really good. It's
I mean,
really
it's
good.
Yeah,
I've talked about
we haven't rode Tron or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
yeah, Cosmic Rewind. Yeah, I
Cosmic
uh
Rewind, yeah.
I have talked about this in a past episode with Cosmic Rewind. When it comes to the ride itself, it's like I feel like we've rode it before. It's like a mixture of two or three rides, but the
Yeah.
queue line is brand new. Like you haven't experienced this anywhere else.
I think
So yeah, that's a pretty good pick actually.
Thank you.
Huh?
Thank you.
Dang.
not a good
Can't
mine.
wait.
Yeah, I was about to say I wish that you and Dad were able to ride it or have rode it. That way you guys can chime in a little bit more. But you guys
Well, we
haven't
need
been
to
to the
go.
park since what? 21? 21.
When Katie left, when did Katie come home? 21?
Early 22, right before I graduated.
22. So that's
So,
April of 22 is our last time we
and it
went.
opened what, late 22?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Because it's still a
'Cause-
virtual queue when we were there.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yep. All right, Jeff,
Okay.
I'm excited to hear. What's your number one?
All right. So, my number one. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
The Tiki Room. I knew it.
Everybody ready?
Yes. Yes.
So, I would probably have to say I went with Tower of Terror, but it was taken. So, I don't even know what to say because I mean, we already talked about Tower, but
Yeah.
I think we should probably bring up what my mom thought my dad was going to pick, which I feel safe to say probably Rock and Roller Coaster, right?
No.
What were you
No.
going to say?
Ooh.
GeForce Records.
Expedition Everest. Walking
Lord.
Asia.
Hey, whoa,
I
watch the
forgot.
language here.
That
I
is one
forgot
of your
that one.
favorite areas.
Oh, you're right.
Expedition Everest is good. And there's bells that you can play with in that queue line.
See-
There's stuff you can read.
Here's the thing, though.
Flags that as you're walking into the land,
Yeah.
the flags.
See, I'm going to have to
Yeah.
disagree with all three of you guys. It's like a museum. Like you're walking through a small exhibit and then you hop onto a roller coaster.
That's the
ride,
whole point, Jeff.
yeah, it doesn't
Jeff,
make
that's
it
the
a
whole
good
point.
It doesn't
You
make
just-
it a
no,
good
no, no, no.
queue.
You're going through a museum, you're learning about the Yeti, and then you go to visit the Yeti in the mountain. That's the whole
You're-
point.
Here, let me enlighten you, Jeff. You're going through base camp, is what you're going through. You're going through a camp of this with a little bit of information of what you're going to see.
But see, this is also where I feel like they could have more potential, like the Jungle Cruise. How
No.
much more scarier would it be if you had some animatronic on the radio and they're sitting there and all you hear is just the audio coming through on the other side of them at the actual base camp? And you just hear raw, all this stuff. And oh my God, like they're just sitting there at the station.
Like a Yeti's attacking.
Like a Yeti
base
attack.
camp.
And you're like, oh, shoot, we're
Or a
about to get on this
mountain.
coaster and go see this thing.
To
That
me,
would be
that's not
better.
the point of the
No.
ride is not to be scared. Like to me, that's
No.
not the point of that ride. You're in base camp. These are all the things that they have brought back to camp, all the things that they have learned about the Yeti
Yep.
thus far. And then you get on the ride to go actually see the Yeti.
Thank
How
you,
are you
Greg.
not
Greg
scared to
gets it.
see the Yeti, though?
Greg
Why would I be
gets
scared
it.
of a Yeti? I'm an Eagle Scout. Bang bang.
Oh boy.
Were you going to kill him with knots?
But just think of it from a kid's perspective. The Yeti would be scary.
The
Oh,
Yeti would be scary.
100%.
Yeah.
But
But Ray's right. You're building up to the ride. You're not.
To me, in the base
Yeah.
camp, you're seeing all of their materials, and then you see the small things they've found, and then at the end, like even as a kid, you see the giant footprint that like the Yeti has made. That is scary to see this giant thing.
I thought it wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to be scary though.
It's not supposed to be, but if you want to like force it in that direction as a child, if you are looking
Yeah.
at these giant things that are not humanly possible, that's
But
scary.
you got to remember, nobody's seen the Yeti. That's the
Well,
thing
you
too.
see the little shadow of it when you go up and right before you reverse to come back down.
Oh yeah, when he rips the
They
trap.
have the
Yeah.
they have the shadow image of the Yeti.
I
Remember?
can't believe I forgot that one.
I know. I figured that would be in your top 3.
I still feel like they should have some
Yeah.
sort of interaction where they're like, hey, we're about to send group 32 up to base camp. And all of a sudden they just have some interaction where they're like, oh, well, hey, you still have to go. So good luck. You know?
Wow.
That
First
doesn't
of all,
mean that
that's
you've never
not
seen the
possible.
Yeti.
No, but like, what you don't send people
Or
up
they
to base
get,
camp.
or they get. Well, like you're at base camp and there's a radio coming in from up top,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're saying, "Hey, we're ready for group number 32 to ascend Mount Everest or whatever."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you hear the radio announcement get interrupted and you have no idea what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, how much better would it be where it's like it does add a little bit of scare to it because nowadays you're going to see the Yeti. It's a ride from 2008. Everybody knows you see a Yeti on it. You're not hiding anything at this point. So, you know, for instance, how much cooler would it be if everybody was kind of in a holding room and they kind of grouped it and did waves and waves and waves just to kind of help the queue for when they, you know, hey, row 2, row 3, row 4. How much cooler would it be if there was somebody that was dressed up like somebody from base camp, had a radio? Hey, are you guys ready for group 32? Yeah, we're ready for group 32. Go ahead and send them up. As soon as the doors open and everybody starts leaving the room, you start hearing stuff on the radio or the walkie-talkie that just sounds
of
terrible.
where you're going.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, well, like the Yeti is now, like they hear Yeti noises and like, oh, what's that? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing to worry about. We got to hear, blah, 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 all this stuff. And, you know, little kids would be like, okay, well, hold on, what? And then adults would eat that up too. Yeah. No, you guys are good. Keep going. You guys are good. 32, keep going. Like, I feel like that would add a little bit of a cool factor and it would update the queue line.
I see what you're saying.
You're shaking your head.
I could see that.
No, I really like the way it is. You know, I think you can't put too much in the queue line and give them too much before the ride.
You don't want to overpower
it. You can. Yeah, you don't want to overpower it. And then all of a sudden they're going to go, well, I had more fun in the queue line than I did the ride.
True.
I mean, yeah. That's the risk, though. I mean, I think some people would have more fun in the queue, and I think some people would have more fun on the ride. It's a good coaster. Even without the Yeti, it's a good coaster.
It is.
Yeah. Here's a queue line they need to work on. You ready? Haunted Mansion. They need to work on that.
It's pretty boring.
I mean, the honorable mentions are already over, but please tell me why. Please tell me why. That's my girl. Tell me what you would do to HM.
Because the queue line is once you get into the room where the ceiling's raising, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's the queue line. And then they open the door and then you run to a buggy.
So what would you add though? Quick thought. You made me do the same thing.
There's a little bit when you're walking through as far as like,
there's like the graveyard and stuff. And there are stories that are like with the headstones and there's that mystery. What is it? The 4 headstone. You have to figure out who killed the. That's kind of cool if you actually stand there and like read it.
Mm-hmm.
The musical thing that you can push on.
Oh yeah, that's interactive.
Which is fairly new, right?
It is.
No, it's been around for probably 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. We just don't ever mess with it.
But okay, so quick thought. What would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. I would project some ghost, you know?
In the middle of the day when the majority of the queue line is in the sun.
You didn't ask me how I was going to do it. You said what I want to do.
You could enclose some of that queue line, though. And
you could enclose some of it.
Ghost.
Yeah. Look at everybody talks about the ghosts at the end of the ride, you know, where they show up behind you on your shoulders and stuff. Those guys, those ghosts are so known. Start popping them in the queue line. You know, could you imagine a little kid seeing that in the queue line?
It like
I
popped
don't
out
think
from
they
behind it.
do. I don't
Yeah.
on that ride. I don't think they. And I could. This is just my perspective. I don't think they do a real good job of. There's not like a storyline. You know, I mean, like you have the lady in the attic that killed her husband. You have like the guy in the cemetery with the dog.
So the
I
way
mean,
that
Maybe
I
there's not a cohesive theme. You're like going through a house. Whose house is it? Did it
so there
belong to
is
the? I mean,
well, there is a
Yeah.
huge theme and there's a huge story behind it. This is one of the main reasons I love the Haunted Mansion. Huge story behind it. Master Gracie's the owner of the mansion. The whole story is, hey, 999 haunts. There's room for one more. So you go into the mansion, but you're also trying to escape it once you get in. So you know how once you go from the attic and you turn around and go backwards,
mhm.
that's supposed to portray you falling out of the attic window.
But here's the thing, though, Jeff. You've been there. You understand all this.
Mhm.
Let's look at it from somebody's point of view. That's their first or second trip there. Not everybody knows that.
Oh, yeah, that's
If
fair.
you don't
Yeah.
research that ride, there is no story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's real.
It's a messy
kind of all over
story
the place.
if you don't
Yeah,
research.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
could see that.
The first time I rode that, I was 5. It will blow your mind when you're 5, and then you love it the rest of your life. It hasn't
Mhm.
changed since then, But I just think there could be a little bit more work up in the queue line.
Yeah.
I
I
just
could see that.
remember. So he went when he was 5. I had never. I was 20. How old was I? 27 when we went for the first time.
Yeah,
30.
somewhere.
If
Yeah.
you were 7,
You were 30
6.
something, mom.
I was 30 something then the first time. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
your dad talked up Haunted Mansion so much, like, oh my gosh, it is the scariest ride ever. You're going to be so scared. And I remember going on it going, oh my gosh. And he was like, we got done with the ride, and I was like, Darrin, that wasn't even scary. And he goes, I was 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Kate and I are crapping our pants,
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
y'all
and
were
mom's got it
crying.
all on
I
night vision
remember.
camera.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's
The
post
guy
that
I,
on social media. I'd love to see that.
the guy that I remember as you're coming down into the cemetery, the guy standing there, like the night guard with his
Mhm,
dog.
mhm.
That's what I remember being 5. I thought that guy's scared.
Mm,
If
I'm
he's
gonna
scared,
have to
I'm
be
scared.
scared. Yep.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's solid.
So here's my
Yeah.
notes, Jeff.
Well,
Here's how I
hey,
was taking
before we
notes.
do that, you are probably in luck, at least when it comes to Disneyland, because they are shutting down the Haunted Mansion inevitably. They don't have like a certain opening back up date because they're changing the queue and they're rearranging the
Oh,
gift shop for it. So I don't know
This
what they're
is
gonna do.
Oh,
news to
interesting.
me.
Yeah,
there
Interesting.
we
I heard that
go.
about a week ago.
I
What
wonder if
about
they're
See,
gonna
I,
kind of like do something with the movie based.
I don't know. I don't know if they're
Uh,
just trying to rearrange the queue and make it not as messy since it's pretty tight in Disneyland or what. But I mean, you could be in luck. I don't know what they're going to do.
here's the
And
thing.
here's also another thing. They also, um, when it came to the Hatbox Ghost is now in the Disney World Haunted Mansion. So
Where was he before? Just the hitchhiker?
no, he was just in the Disneyland one.
yeah.
See,
But they
I
put him in a
should.
weird
Who is
spot. He's like
that?
next to the hallway. He's not like in the, he's just like there. Like it was random.
Yeah,
Hmm.
kind of weird spot, but he's in there now. But okay, so before we close this out and everything, because I mean, I was going to say Tower of Terror. I think we could talk about Rock and Roller Coaster, but I'll just take the L and have mine taken. Rock and Roller Coaster could probably make some minor changes, but I think they're pretty solid with how they are. It's a
Yeah.
good
The
queue.
pre-show is great. The
If it
queue
was,
Pre-show
is
is great.
if we did top 5, it'd be in my top 5. Let's put it that way. Because, whoa, check out Steven Tyler's hat.
That
yeah.
was
The pre-show
good.
is great. Yes, that
wasn't
was
bad.
good. Pre-show is
That's
great. The line is horrible.
Yeah. If
I
you guys
agree.
go on YouTube and just type in audio, like intro to Rock and Roller Coaster, it's pretty entertaining on there because they even have like the starts, like it's awesome. So I don't know. Watch out, LA. Aerosmith is about to enter the stage. It's
This is
awesome.
what we've learned tonight. What we've learned, Jeff is a loser. Like,
Wait a
I
wait,
don't.
wait a
He
minute, wait a
doesn't.
minute.
No,
That's a great
stop.
idea. I'm not a
Stop.
loser.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
a Disney
Yeah.
adult.
Okay. Darrin, I'm so interested in what notes you were taking
Yeah,
during this whole
what's going
process.
on here?
Well, I started taking notes, thinking maybe there's something behind all this, right? Because I was like,
Like a thought
I thought
process?
no, I thought maybe the older rides had better queue lines, or the newer rides have better queue lines, but there's no method to it.
Nah.
Nope.
There's
No,
nothing. If
it's
you
just
look
kind of a
back
hit
at
or a
it,
miss, or
yeah,
a budget is really what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, and I
nothing to
think
it.
to me, it seems like with Disney, you're going to have to try to connect to the older crowd by being nostalgic, but then also with the younger generations by kind of futuristic. I don't know. I mean, I just think Disney does a great job with theming and keeping you entertained through the queues. I don't think there's another park that does that as well.
Yeah.
I
Not
think
even
part of the
Universal.
I think
Universal's getting better.
part of the queue line interaction stuff though is like what you were saying that there's no. I think part of it is where this ride is located. Like when I was talking about like flying carpets and triceratops spin and like all these, they're just like sitting there in the middle of stuff. Like
Mhm.
the same thing with like the teapots, and like you can't really have a big fancy queue line because there's not room for it. You just like you have the
True.
ride and that's the only space that there is. And so I think that makes a big difference too on if there's placement and room to be able to do some of the cool stuff.
You
And
know,
on
which
those
is a
queue
great,
lines, you just people watch. That's your queue line entertainment.
that's a great point, Gray. And you know what? But then I think about Peter Pan, what they did with that little bit of space.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you're right though, because like a small world, what would you do there? There's no space.
Yeah, yeah.
So
When you have the
I don't
bridge
know.
that goes over the water, and truthfully, you're tired of that song by the time you even get on the boat. So they gotta do
Yeah.
What have you
something
been
there.
You end
to?
up singing it though.
Well, the small
Yeah.
world in California, I think the whole queue line's outside.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
It
But
Yeah,
is.
and everyone like says, "Oh, Disneyland is so much better just because blah blah blah." But like the weather in California is a lot better than Florida, and like
Yeah.
you can't
true.
really like you can have a queue line outside in Disneyland because it doesn't rain as often. Like in Florida, it rains every 5 seconds, so you can't.
So, so what do you
And
guys
it's
think of the
hot
queue? What do you think
in
of
the
the queue
summer.
line at the Disneyland at Cars?
Oh, the Radiator Springs Racers is
We're
so
getting
good.
slightly
That
off
is
topic, but it's great.
so good. It is good.
Disney,
Disney
Disney,
World.
Mister.
Radiators,
It's been so
everything about
long.
Cars Land, in my opinion, fantastic. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think they should put it in Florida. I think they should
I
put it
do
in North
too.
Carolina. Like, I think they should put one every 5 states. Like,
Well,
I just
hey,
want to have that.
here's the thing, by the way. They're also wanting to expand Magic Kingdom past Big Thunder. That'd be a pretty good place to add Radiator Springs because it would tie in with Big Thunder.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
especially with the rocks.
The
Yeah, it would be.
mountains.
So I don't know if
That'd
it's
be
a
great.
big enough area. I don't know if they'd be able to add like one attraction. I don't know about a whole land, but that'd be a cool tie-in.
I'd have to look at the map and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like how they did Toy Story Land. You could have like the cars with the Radiator Springs and whatever, I can't even remember all
True.
the other.
Yeah.
Mhm. I still feel like
And then
Radiator
just
Springs would probably be better at Hollywood Studios, but I don't
But to
know.
me, Hollywood Studios has lost its whole
Agree.
meaning anyway because it's not like a behind the scenes thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's just an amusement park. And that's a whole thing for another day. But
Yeah.
anyway,
But yeah, I think this is a pretty good spot to close out because if we don't close out now, we're just going to keep going about queues and queues and queues and queues. So we
Amen.
need to mind our
Okay.
P's and Q's. However,
All right.
but yeah,
Dot
if
your
you
I's,
guys,
cross your T's.
yeah. All right. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe at Jeff the Regular on YouTube and the Goofy Scoop on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Dad, Mom, thank you for joining the podcast. Mom, welcome to the podcast for the first time. It was awesome having you. Been wanting you on here for a while, just haven't made it happen until now, but it has happened. So woohoo. On that note, Mom, anything that you wanted to say, anything that you might want to bring up in the future, try to sell us on reappearing to the Goofy Scoop podcast.
Ooh.
Ooh, I would honestly have to think on that. There's so much to Disney.
You know what,
Oh,
Jeff? Next
I
time
don't
she
know.
comes, she'll just tell stories about you as a kid, and I think we'll all enjoy it.
all right. So mom is going to be a one-time special guest.
You know what?
No, I
I think we
think
should do that. I think we should do an episode of stories when the kids were little. We have plenty of stuff.
Oh, then we need to get Gray's parents on here as well then.
That's fine.
My parents don't have any good stories about me.
I feel the same.
Hey, Jeff,
No, they're good.
Jeff, you need your mom back on here and something to do about planning or
that's what I was gonna say.
yeah.
Planning would probably be
Okay.
my number one.
Oh my gosh, your mom's
Sounds
Because
good.
if you're not prepared when you go to Disney, it can make or break the trip because
Okay.
you could.
Sounds good. If you
So-
liked my mom as a special guest, stick around and you might have her as how would you plan the itinerary with Mama French? We don't know.
Yeah, Jeffy.
Including bathroom
And then,
breaks.
hey, watch it, Dad. And then
Good.
with
Ooh.
Mikey as well. Mikey's gonna want you back on here, Dad, as well. You wanted to be on an episode with him. He wants to be on an episode with you. You got to break the tie between Gray and him from a past episode as well. So you gotta have the
What's
magic.
that?
You gotta have the magic question. You gotta break a tie between Mikey and Gray when it comes to
You go back and listen to our last game episode.
yeah, the last game episode. They ended up, I'm looking at my notes right now, they both ended up with 8 points based off of guess that price when it came to an easy, medium, hard level. So now you got to think of a question for when you special guest with Mikey. This is one heck of an outro, by the way. So,
Hey, let's make it short. Thanks
Yeah.
for listening. Follow us on the Goofy Scoop at Jeff the Regular on YouTube. Hit it, leave a comment below, send us all your questions, and have a great day.
yep. See you guys real soon.